One of the hot topics is Alberta separation, and so I'll ask questions like Socrates was sentenced to death for asking questions for the Socratic method. Feels like Chris Voss improved the Socratic method. So I'm going to say a bunch of labels, asking labels, like Chris Voss skills. I don't think I'm going to answer any questions. I'll try to keep this. I'm going to fail at keeping this short. So I've got family, all my family is from Quebec. My first language is French. And I've seen firsthand how difficult it was for Quebecers to fight against Canada and the other provinces for separation. What a lot of people don't talk about, the craziness, the desperation. Seems like desperation that Quebecers bombed provincial and federal buildings for decades before the first referendum. There was a kidnapping and killing though it feels like those kidnappings and killings were chosen by the government to highlight the issue, despite the government's willful ignorance of the decades-long bombings and killings and kidnappings decades prior. It also feels like Alberta does not have to go to that extent. And I'm going to thank the Quebecers for that, for Quebec blazing the trail to forge a way for separation, including Alberta separation, which the Supreme Court has ruled how a province can and cannot separate. And even if the Supreme Court ruled that Alberta doesn't have a right to do or not do something in separation, that is always appealable. So I am for separation, and I'm not for separation. Seems really complicated to do anything with or against the federal government. Quebec has proven that. And Alberta's wealth has proven, and Alberta's wealth and prosperity has proven that the federal government gets to do whatever they want. When there's precedent that allows provinces to govern themselves, yet it feels like the federal government is seems intent on governing not only provinces but districts like Fort McMurray. So what other questions can I ask? I have sworn an oath to Canada. Feels like many forget that provincial MP from Quebec, before the last referendum, a provincial MLA, MP from Quebec, provincial member of parliament, had written a letter to all of Quebec soldiers asking soldiers to fight for Quebec against Canada and against Canadians. My oath has no expiry. Our oath is to the King and Queen, the monarch of Canada, while many people seem to think that our allegiances to the monarch. In the military, feels like we are challenged to question orders, no matter who the order comes from, that not all orders are legal, moral, and ethical. As soldiers, we are expected to challenge commands and orders from our chain of command, to test those orders against our own moral, ethical, legal understandings. When I say my oath has no expiry, I'll extend that to foreign enemies and domestic. Not only to citizens of Canada, I also extend my oath to foreign international citizens, including my enemy, whose job it is to kill me. When I joined the military, I learned our enemy has human rights to life, dignity, basic necessities, moral and ethical rights, to pray as they wish. My oath includes my love for my enemy, who does the best he can when he can with what he has, if he can, despite his job it is to kill me, as it is mine to defend myself at any cost. That includes fellow Albertans, whether I agree or disagree with them. Though my priority is with my tribe locally, provincially, federally, globally. You may not agree with me. You may not agree with me, though I'll support you up to the point I have to defend myself and my community. Feels like my federal community does not have my interest at heart. I'll expand on that. As soldiers, we are required to provide our enemy with life's basic necessities. By law, and I extend that to my moral and ethical beliefs. With that, I can say I feel I can treat my enemy with more civility than my own government affords me. Feels like it should be the other way around. Feels like my government should afford me more civility than I afford my enemy. Seems to speak to an imbalance. Am I for Alberta Separation? I am and I'm not. Do I support Alberta Separation? I do and I don't. Do I know what to do? I think that's a clear, resounding no. Feels like my government should afford me more civility than I afford my enemy. Do people need to bomb, kidnap, and kill provincial and federal citizens, employees of the government, for the government to listen? How many decades for the government to listen? I have more questions than answers, and I don't know what questions to ask. In years past, I've seen Quebecers who were firsthand, seen Quebecers who were proud and happy to separate. In recent years, in the last 5 years, I've seen firsthand Quebecers who were prouder Canadians than ever before. I don't know what Alberta should do. I don't know what Canada should do. Though it seems we need something different. Seems we need to be stronger. How do we grow stronger? Your view of strength will be different than my view of strength. Odds of understanding each other about 400 trillion to 800 trillion to 1. That about summarizes how complex this world is, how complex these problems are. Highlights how we'll likely never meet eye to eye, likely never agree. What else can I say? I hope I've left you with more questions than answers. bad information is good information simply for the fact that it's more information. I hope I've left you with more information.